Why did you buy that gadget sitting in your drawer, still in its box? You know the one. Maybe it was a sleek kitchen appliance you saw advertised on Instagram, or a fitness tracker you convinced yourself would finally make you consistent at the gym, or a set of art supplies that represented a version of yourself you wanted to become. You bought it with genuine excitement. You told yourself it made sense. And now it collects dust alongside a dozen other things that seemed completely necessary at the time of purchase. You are not alone, and you are not irrational. The psychology behind why people buy things they don't need is one of the most fascinating intersections of emotion, identity, neuroscience, and social behavior. Understanding it won't necessarily stop you from doing it, but it will make you a far more conscious participant in your own spending. The brain's reward system and the illusion of happiness. At the core of unnecessary buying is dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. What most people don't realize is that dopamine is released not when you get something, but when you anticipate getting it. The moment you add something to your cart, browse a product page, or walk toward a store display, your brain is already flooding with feel-good chemicals. The purchase itself is almost secondary. This is why the phrase retail therapy exists. Shopping mimics the neurological experience of pursuing a reward, which is why it temporarily lifts mood, reduces anxiety, and creates a sense of control. When life feels chaotic or emotionally draining, a purchase feels like a decision you can win. You choose, you click, you receive, and for a brief moment, your brain registers this as a kind of small victory. The problem is that the dopamine spike from anticipation fades quickly after the item arrives. This is called the hedonic treadmill, the tendency for humans to return to a baseline level of happiness regardless of positive events. That's why the unboxing feels better than the owning, and why the new thing feeling vanishes within days or weeks. The identity purchase, buying who we want to be. One of the most powerful and least discussed drivers of unnecessary buying is aspirational identity. People don't just buy products, they buy versions of themselves they hope to become. When someone buys running shoes without being a runner, or philosophy books without being a reader, or professional cameras without being a photographer, they are engaging in a very human psychological behavior, using objects as proxies for identity. The purchase feels like a commitment to the future self. It feels like progress without requiring the actual work. Psychologists call this self-completion theory, the idea that acquiring symbols associated with a goal makes us feel closer to achieving that goal, even if we haven't taken any real steps toward it. The person who buys the yoga mat feels like a yoga person before ever attending a single class. The mat becomes a statement of intent, and the intent itself feels satisfying enough that motivation to follow through often fades. This is not a character flaw. It is a deeply human tendency to use the external world to express and construct internal identity. Marketers understand this better than most therapists do, which is why so much advertising doesn't sell products, it sells a self-image. Buy this watch and you're the kind of person who appreciates quality. Buy this supplement and you're someone who takes their health seriously. The product is almost irrelevant. The identity is the thing being sold. Social proof, status, and the fear of missing out. Humans are profoundly social creatures, and a significant portion of buying behavior is driven by what others are doing, owning, or approving of. Social proof, the psychological phenomenon where people assume the actions of others reflect correct behavior, is one of the most exploited mechanisms in consumer culture. When a product goes viral, when a limited edition release creates lines around the block, when everyone in your social circle is talking about something, the urge to participate becomes almost biological. FOMO, or the fear of missing out, activates the same stress pathways as actual threat. Not owning something that everyone has can genuinely feel like social exclusion, and social exclusion, for a species that evolved in small interdependent groups, feels dangerous at a primitive level. Status signaling adds another layer. Thorstein Veblen coined the term conspicuous consumption in 1899 to describe how people buy expensive or visible goods not for utility, but to signal wealth and social position to others. While the forms have changed, luxury handbags, premium sneakers, the newest smartphone, the underlying psychology has not shifted at all. We are still, at our core, creatures concerned with how we rank within our social groups, and purchases are one of the most visible ways to communicate that rank. Scarcity, urgency, and the tricks that short-circuit rational thought. Even people who consider themselves disciplined buyers are vulnerable to manufactured urgency. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends in 2 hours 14 minutes and 33 seconds. Exclusive offer for today only. These aren't just marketing phrases, they are precision instruments designed to bypass the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational decision-making, and activate the amygdala, which governs fear and impulsive reaction. Scarcity makes things feel more valuable. This is rooted in loss aversion, the psychological principle that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. When we believe we might miss out on a deal or a product, we're not weighing value anymore. We're responding to the threat of loss. The purchase becomes less about want and more about avoiding regret. E-commerce platforms have engineered entire user experiences around exploiting these tendencies: frictionless one-click purchasing, countdown timers, personalized recommendations based on browsing history, and infinite scroll that keeps presenting new options before the last impulse has had time to cool down. Emotional spending, when feelings drive the cart. A significant amount of unnecessary buying happens in direct response to emotional states: boredom, loneliness, sadness, stress, or even happiness and celebration. Emotional spending is essentially self-regulation through consumption. When internal discomfort arises and we don't have effective tools to process it, purchasing something offers a fast, accessible, and socially acceptable way to shift the feeling. Research consistently shows that people in negative emotional states make more impulsive purchases and are more susceptible to marketing influence. Shopping provides a sense of agency when life feels out of control. It provides stimulation when life feels dull. And it provides a moment of self-indulgence that can feel, briefly, like self-care. The issue isn't the emotion, it's the substitution. The purchase addresses the symptom without touching the source. The way forward: understanding these mechanisms doesn't make you immune to them, but it creates a crucial pause between impulse and action. Before a purchase, asking yourself a few honest questions: am I buying a product or an identity? Is this urgency real or manufactured? What emotion am I actually trying to address right now? Can be more powerful than any budgeting app. Consumer culture is extraordinarily sophisticated at exploiting human psychology. The first step to spending more intentionally is recognizing that your impulses are not random. They are responses to deeply wired human needs for belonging, identity, comfort, and control. The product is rarely the point. What you're really reaching for is always something much more fundamental than whatever is sitting in that drawer.